I can't do it. Okay. We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Here it is. It's Wednesday, September 11th. There's the go-to guy. He is in the crimson outfit, fresh off a hike there in Bend, Oregon. Hey, my name is Jason Puckett. Welcome to the Daily Puck Drop live edition here Wednesday, September 11th. How are we? How's everyone doing? It's a little rainy up here in Seattle, a little rainy, I am told, down there in Bend, Oregon. But go-to guy, it's great to see your face again. You've already pounded out a hike this morning, sir.
Yeah, I was really tired, went to bed early. I fell asleep during the 8th inning of the Mariners game last night. Did I miss anything in the 9th inning? It appears I didn't. Mariners losing 7-3. But then I got up at 5:30, went for a hike after it got light out with the dogs. 2-hour hike this morning, 7:30 to 9:30.
Yeah.
And then I come back. I had two good news things happen. Number one, I'm looking at my phone right now. $823 was loaded onto my Visa card from the state of Washington for unemployment. So $823 a week is what I get for unemployment. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you for firing me, Rich Moore. And then Coach Walden called me. He texted me. And he asked me to be on his Saturday morning show in Spokane. And the reason I'm so excited about this is because last week or 2 weeks ago when he asked me to be on his show, I said, yeah, by all means. And then I forgot. Have you done that before when someone's asked you to be on their show and then you forget? God, it was just the worst feeling in the world. I felt like such a loser. And I just was, Coach, you're my favorite Cougar coach of all time. I'm really sorry. I blew it. And he's giving me another chance. So 825. Do you know what station he's on in Spokane so I can promote it?
I do not. Why don't you ask him? I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea what station he's on in Spokane. Did you just miss? I don't understand. Did you just miss the call?
I just forgot. I just flat out forgot. I had nothing going on a Saturday morning, and 8:20 came and went, and I blew it. You've done that once or twice, haven't you?
Well, of course, yeah. Just of course. I think everyone has. Whatever you did to your new headphones, they're terrible. I'll be honest with you. Yeah, it's terrible. It's awful. If you could fix it, it'd be great. It's just terrible. I don't know.
Okay, are they better now?
Much better now. What did you do? Whatever you did, just do that.
Okay, I turned them around.
Yes, turn them around.
I don't know how that would impact anything.
I don't know, but however you had your ear pods in, because when you had them turned around, you could hear me better, but then your audio sounds bad. Now you sound great. Thank you very much. We're moving this on.
See, I had them like this.
Yeah,
you don't like that.
No,
I do it like this.
Perfect. Now
that's
that works.
Better.
Yeah, that's much better. See, we're adjusting on the fly. No, of course I've missed it, but I mean, I've missed interviews before. But Jim Walden, he'll be fine. He'll get over it. He'll be good. And no, you didn't miss anything last night with the Mariners game. You know what happened again? They can't hit, can't score any runs.
I got a kick out of it. Like JP delivered there. What was it in the 7th inning?
It was a good hit, though.
He was so lucky to still be in the batter's box, though. The pitch before that.
That he should have been out for sure.
And of course, Root Sports doesn't replay that when it's to the Mariners' benefit. But
they never do. They never do. Anytime the borderline strike call benefits the home team, they never do. Jesus, the EQC tracer missed that one.
And then poor Julio, the 6-4-3 double play to end the inning.
It's Yeah, it's a lot of it. We talked a lot about that yesterday with Bill Kruger, and again, if you can go check out that on the podcast, the Bill Kruger show. It's the Daily Puck Drop. It's day number 3 of our live shows. Again, everything's podcasted later. We are inside the PuckSports studios, which of course is built by our friends at Limback Lumber Contractors. They offer free deliveries from everything from whole house packages to a homeowner DIY projects, and have the largest stock moldings in the Northwest. Old school service because they've been doing it since 1930. Give them a call at 206-782-3487. Visit them online at limbacklumber.com. And if you're watching on the, stream, right? If you're watching, that would be the only way. The app is coming soon. My buddy Jacob, who's building the app, we're just fixing out bugs because of Apple. So it's going to be done shortly. I bet you within the week, and then you'll be able to listen to this as well on your phone on an app that my guy Jacob has built for us. And but the Apple, you got to go through so many like hoops with Apple because there's every little thing you got to fix with it. But it's close, I'm telling you. So on the stream, if you're watching this right now on YouTube and X, that little QR code that's in the bottom corner. Click on that. That's going to take you right to Limback Lumber. Hey, I have your answer. My good buddy, Ryan Lindsay, who I used to work with back in the day in Portland, Oregon. Shout out to Ryan. I know he's watching right now. Walden is on 1510 KGA in Spokane. So once again, people doing the work KGA. For you. Yeah, we're doing the work for you.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I'll promote that. You're going to listen to it Saturday morning. You can probably download it and
what time?
Wherever you find your podcasts and all that stuff.
What time are you on?
8:25. And I'll give you a little tease. I'm going to pick the Cougars to win the Apple Cup.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. Like I have every year since 1974.
Has there ever been a game where you have not picked the Cougs?
Yeah, I think there probably have been a few years where I go into it hoping that we'll cover the spread, but thinking that we probably aren't going to win.
Yeah.
Well, we were going to. Did you think we were going to win last year?
No.
We were 14-point underdogs.
No. Did you think we were going to win last year? No, I thought we were going to get blown out. The fact that they almost won that game and were in that game, and if they would have actually called a holding penalty or not even a holding penalty, the fact that Ron Stone got tackled on that 4th down and 1 play, maybe we win the game.
Yeah.
Go back and watch that play again if you want to be just pissed off. And I understand how officials they eat the whistle late in game. There's 5 holding penalties on that play.
Yeah,
it's whatever. But
and we were in field goal range there too, and there was 2 or 3 minutes left.
That's when Cam decided not to take off and run. You know who's not going to make that mistake this week? Old Johnny Football not going to make that mistake this week. When he sees green space, he's going to take off and run, and going to get the first down and get us in field goal range. Well, we will win the game.
How much do we love John Mateer?
Well,
I mean, where does he already rank?
Mateer more than me.
Where does he rank in your top 10 of Cougar quarterbacks all time?
Number 1.
Number 1. What over Bledsoe?
He's number 1 already.
Over Gesser, over Jack Thompson.
Slightly above Menke, but slightly.
Do you think Steve Birnbaum looks at John Mateer and thinks, God, I wish I could have run like that?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of quarterbacks that would have wished they could have run like that. Yeah.
How about where's Chad Davis on your list?
Chad Davis? Ooh, Chad Davis. It's hard for him to crack the top 10, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
Chad Davis. Really hard.
And everybody knows that I'm full of shit most of the time, right?
Yeah, sure. We all do know that.
But in 92, could we have not won the national championship if we had had a good quarterback?
That year with that defense?
Yeah.
They would have been in the conversation. It was the wrong time to have maybe not a good quarter. I hesitate to say the worst quarterback in school.
No, he wasn't he was far from the worst.
But God, did we just need more? Hey, because I don't want to offend Chad if he's watching or listening. If just we could have had more from that spot that year. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think Chad's listening to this?
I don't think he is. No, I don't think many people are, Jim. I'll be honest with you. I'm not sure why we're doing this.
Okay. No, but this year, going into this game,
Yeah.
So I've been a Coug for 50 years now, and
What
out of all 50 Apple Cups, I'm really super confident that
you
we're going
are
to win this
more
one.
confident than anybody I know.
Aren't
More
you?
I'm not as confident as you are, but that's me in nature. I'm a worrywart. And I think bad things are going to happen. That's just me. That's how
Like
I am
what?
as a fan.
Specifically what?
Like for this game specifically,
Yeah,
that I don't know that,
that we don't stop Coleman.
we don't stop Coleman. He scares the hell out of me, and rightfully so. A lot of talk. You heard, one of our safeties, Durant, talking about Will Rogers, and like we get pressure on him and he'll struggle, and that Will Rogers is going to have a game of his life. I think Jed Fish is an elite play caller. He really is. They torched us last year. Arizona torched us last year.
Yeah, I
Beat the shit out of us.
forgot about that game. I think we were favored by 6 in that game.
When
and
we lose 51-3,
it was 44-6, and it was in Pullman.
Oh, I talked to and they're up right now. Our podcast that we do, the Old Crimson, and then also is up right now on all the platforms. It will exclusively just be on the podcast platform. So it's up right now on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and then also our Cougs Corner. Both of those podcasts are brought to you by Flat Stick Pub and the Cougar Collective, by the way. And yesterday it was Dickert's on one more time. So it's the second installment of 5 visits this year with Jake Dickert, and he is back on right now. So you can go watch it, listen to it. Wait till this is over around 11:30, then go watch it then. But well, I guess it all goes to the same place, so it doesn't really matter.
What are you competing with yourself?
I know. Right when I said it, I was like, you're an idiot. He said that was the first time ever that he'd been there that another team, I said, what do you mean by that? That he said another team broke their sword. And what he meant by that was just they broke their will.
Oh.
And he's like, I haven't seen it since. We'd never seen it before, but that, and I said, well, what do you mean? He goes, well, I saw guys, tap out second half.
Oh, it looked like we quit.
Yeah, we quit. We quit in the second half. That's not gonna happen this week. And I think they have a different leader, and I think leadership means a lot, especially at the quarterback position. And I'm gonna tell you, Hurricane fans are gonna find out sooner rather than later. So don't worry about it. You'll find out. He can have his great games that he's had in the first 2 weeks, but when adversity hits, you'll see it, Miami. Trust me, you will. But yeah, I just think that just all that worries me. It always worries me. I wish I had your confidence because, God damn it, man, you are confident.
Yeah, and I always put my money where my mouth is, too. I got $200 on the Cougs so far, and I'll probably have more than that on the Cougs by the time the kickoff at 12:30. But we can run the ball. We can throw the ball. I think we can fly around on defense. Yeah, Coleman's going to run for over 100 yards.
Oh, yeah, easily.
But the thing I like the most about this game are the intangibles, Puck, and I talk about it on that Old Crimson podcast.
That's the best.
I'm big on the intangibles.
You love intangibles, always have.
Don't we have all of them in this game? I mean, what do they have? Like if the Huskies beat us, it's like ho hum, oh well, we beat the Cougars again. But this game is really important to us, more so than most years, because of what's happening with the college football landscape, with the Huskies leaving, going to the Big Ten. Yeah, it's very important to us. It's on national TV. If whoever has Peacock can watch the damn thing, if we can figure that out.
It's not on national TV.
Isn't Peacock? Doesn't that go everywhere?
No, that's Peacock streaming.
Well, okay, but isn't that national?
What do you mean national? You have to pay for it.
Isn't it worldwide?
Yeah, but you got to pay for it. It's a
okay,
streaming
but like
service.
if I'm in Taipei, I can watch a game, right?
I guess if there are a bunch of Apple Cup fans in Taipei, so Husky and Cougar fans, we're talking to you in Taipei. Send me where your Taipei watching or viewing party. I'd love to know.
Well, it's just like there's probably like one person down in Australia that might be watching this and listening to your podcast right now. Possibly.
I want people possibly, maybe. I want people who haven't seen it yet or listened to it yet to understand the confidence level that you have for the game, because it is.
And
honestly,
so I just think we've got all the intangibles. And to me, I know this is subjective perspective here, but I think we have the better team. I just think we have the better team going into this game. And then when you throw the intangibles into that, we're going to win by double digits in this game. I don't give a shit, man. I really do not give a shit. Like, oh, Moore's such a fucking homer. Well, yeah, I am. But I think I remember in 21. In 21, we won 40-13 when they trotted Heward out there and they had Bob Gregory as their interim coach. Didn't we all know going into that game before the ball was even kicked off that we were going to kick their ass? Yes, we did know that. Paul, you knew that. Puck, you knew that. I mean, I was trying to get more money down on us, but I don't know, the Wi-Fi at Husky Stadium, I couldn't do it. I kept trying to get more money down on us. It's the same way with this game.
Yeah, so to Husky Stadium, one thing I would do and encourage, improve the Wi-Fi at the stadium so degenerates like us can gamble more on the game. And then I just realized you really do swear a lot. God, you are a potty mouth. Swear left and right.
God, come on, Puck. Don't you feel confident going into this one?
I feel more confident than in years past. I mean, more than last year, more in years past. Yeah, I mean, I think part of it is one, there's no Michael Penix, there's no Roma Dunze. They're wide receivers. They may be good at the end of the year, but right now they're not where, and they never were going to be. They weren't going to be as good as the wide receivers last year. Will Rogers is not Michael Penix. Jonah Coleman's better than anything that they had last year. The offensive line, which was such a huge strength for them last year. I mean, didn't they win the award? Like the offensive line of the year or something? They
had to replace everybody, didn't they?
They replaced everyone, and then the first two games, they are, you got Pete Carroll's son over there, who appears to just spend a lot of time manicuring that beard for some reason. Jesus. Does he do anything else during the day other than manicure that beard? But it looks good.
You know what I remember? Let me interrupt you real quickly. Like, did you ever work for your dad at all?
No, he was an accountant, so with math and numbers, and I can't do math.
I worked for my dad when I first got out of college, and I knew that I had the job because I was, Jim Moore Sr.'s kid. I wasn't qualified for the job. Anyway, what I'm getting at is they trot this stuff out there like Belichick's kid, Pete Carroll's kid. Are they that qualified to? I mean, were they the best candidates for those jobs?
Well, of course not. But nepotism.
Jed Fish going, oh, this will really, attract recruits here if we get Belichick's kid and Carroll's kid. And I'm sure they're capable. And I'm just ripping on them because I'm a Coug, and that's what we do with the Huskies and what they're doing. And you've mentioned it, like if Belichick was our defensive coordinator and the actual Belichick dad was, walking around at Martin Stadium, I would probably think that's cool. Yeah. But he's not. He's going to, I don't know, is Bill going to be there at the game at Lumen Field? Probably. Pete Carroll might be wandering around chewing his gum. I don't know. It bugs me. It does. It bugs me. Like I saw that press conference. I didn't watch what they said, but
which press conference are you talking about?
You guys realize you got your jobs because of your dads, and I always felt weird about that when I worked for my dad.
Well, but nepotism is everywhere. Didn't Mike Price have his son on the staff? Wasn't Aaron Price on the staff?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
that was okay because
that's okay because he's a Coug, of course.
Price's kid could kick. You remember that? The left-footed booter?
But nepotism is everywhere. And I mean, the reason they have jobs, I wouldn't say the reason they have jobs. The reason that they would ascend so fast in their career is because of who they are.
Yeah. Hey, let me throw something at you real quick, and I want to see what you think. I want to see what you think. Okay, I'm thinking about going on Twitter and offering bets to anyone who wants to bet me on this game. And here's how it would work. It's small potatoes. Okay, I think it's small potatoes. It might be big potatoes for Papa here. Come to Papa. Okay, anybody on Venmo? If you're on Venmo, okay, I'll pay you $1 if the Huskies win. $1.
But then they've got to pay you.
Okay, wait. Okay, and then here's the rest of it. So I pay them $1. It doesn't matter if the Huskies cover the 4.5 or not. If they win by 1 or 50,
it's just straight up.
I pay you $1. Okay. And then if the Cougars win by 1 point to 9 points, you don't pay me anything because I'm being a big mouth here saying we're going to win by double digits. Okay. But if we win by 10 or more, then you have to pay me $5. What do you think? So if we win by 1-9, nobody owes me anything.
I got to write
If the
that.
Huskies win, I owe you $1. If the Cougs win by 10 or more, you Venmo me $5. Do you think I get some takers on that?
Yeah, but no one's going to pay you.
Why? It's an honor
Because-
system.
Okay, but no one's going to do it. But then
What do you
they'll you have to see. Here's the deal: why it's a sucker bet. Because
Sucker bet for who?
For you, because I love it. It's a great bet. Because if they lose, you're going to get killed for not paying everyone.
No, I'm going to pay everybody.
I know, but I'm just saying if you don't, you'll get killed for it. But if the Cougars win by more than 9, so you're saying if they win between 1 and 9 points, nothing. If they win by double digits or more, every Husky fan's got to send you $5. Well, how do you make them send you $5?
Well, they have to sign up for it beforehand.
How do you sign up for it? You
Well,
haven't
shit,
thought of
I
that.
don't know.
I think it's a great idea.
Well, no, you respond. I'm going to put it on Twitter, and then you respond on Twitter, and then I'll have your Twitter address, and we'll figure out Venmo and.
Yeah, that's a foolproof way of getting someone to pay you. It's like the guy the Florida State guy that said if they lose, what did he say? I'll eat a bowl full of dog shit or something like that.
Did he do it? Yeah, out of a red soda.
No, he erased his Twitter account.
What?
Yeah,
he didn't do it.
No, he erased it. He was never going to do it.
Okay, so here's what I'm thinking, and I'm retired, so I'm trying to.
I love the bet.
Okay, let's say the Huskies win, and I have 200 people that sign up for this. Okay, then I would pay them $200, right? Okay. But if the Cougs win by 10 or more, that same 200 would be paying me $5. I'd win $1,000.
Okay. Look. Okay. Well, thank you.
Well, you sucked at radio math. I don't know how you are at podcast math.
Yeah, but it's the same, equally bad.
Okay. So what do you think? You guys should do it? And then I'll promote your podcast while I'm doing it.
Sure, do it. I just, I really doubt any Husky fan is going to send you money. But okay, I'm in.
Why? There's honest Husky fans out there.
I don't disagree. I think there are honest Husky fans out there. I just don't know if they're going to actually send you money.
God. Yeah, but what if like 500 people sign up to do this and the Huskies win? Then I'll really feel like.
And then you're gonna be in trouble.
My wife will be like, "You did what?"
Yeah. All right. So you're getting on the YouTube studio chat room, the YouTube chat, which is a lot of people love the bet. They're in. They can't wait to sign up. Yeah.
Okay. All right. We're gonna win by double digits. I swear to God.
You are confident. You are as confident as anyone. And and here's the beauty of how confident you are. I was thinking about it this morning. Is that if people don't get this, because there's so many Husky fans that are waiting, and they're gonna have that tweet written out before the game is over, and all of who they are, and they're waiting. And the second it goes 000, they're gonna send it out. You're an idiot, Moore. Way to Cougar. They're waiting to send it. Okay. But see, what they don't get, those people, what they don't understand is none of it bothers you. None of it. That you love this. Like you get a kick out of it. And if there's gonna be mean things said about you, there's mean things said about me, and you're just gonna laugh it off, and you're gonna reply back, "Oh, thanks, Michael. Appreciate it. Go Cougs." That's what your response will be. And that puts a smile on my face because I get a kick out of it every time you do something like this, because I know what the reaction from that fan base is going to be, and that they think they're going to bother you by calling you an idiot, and you're just going to be like, okay, go Cougs, and a picture of your dog in the river.
But I honestly do dislike them so much. I just really, and it's a rivalry.
Of course it is. It should be a rivalry.
I want them to lose.
Dislike them.
I mean, I wanted them to lose to Eastern Michigan. I wanted them to lose to Weber State.
Yeah, I think what is transpired.
The best Cougar season ever. What was our best Cougar season ever? When we ended the Rose Bowl drought in '97, right? And then we won the Apple Cup, and we went to the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
Okay, where would you put the Huskies 2008 season in all-time best Cougar seasons, if you could, because I enjoyed that so much. 0-12. That was just, I mean, we always have that in our back pocket, whenever they give us the little brother shit, hey, little brother never went 0-12.
Here's why I don't look at it like you. It's because we were shitty that year too.
No, and we were shittier than them, and we still beat them.
Well, I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, we were bad. That was a bad football team. That was an awful football team.
Hey, Jared Carstetter should have a little wing there at Bowler Gym because he was the one that made that.
Who was
possible.
The quarterback?
And there was a Grassu who kicked the field goal.
Nico, hefty Nico Grassu.
No, he wasn't really hefty.
Yes, he was.
Yes, he was. Nico?
Yeah.
No, the next guy was. The next guy was Fernie. Fernie was hefty.
Do you remember who
loved him?
Do you remember who threw the pass to Carstetter?
God, but his Spokane kid?
No. Transfer.
Kevin Lopina.
So tell everyone, you said it on the Old Crimson podcast, which again is available on all the podcast platforms right now, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, along with Cougs Corner, our visit yesterday with head football coach Jake Dicker. It's great. Jake Dicker is awesome. He really challenges. I think it's a good message for all college football fans, but really Cougar fans specifically. Get off your ass, get out there, watch the game, donate. All of it. It was he was real honest with his feelings about the fan base, which is really good. But on the podcast with you, me, and Paul Sorensen, and then Jamie Vinnick makes a visit from cougfan.com. He's going to join us every week as well. Give us like a 10-minute kind of news and notes and practice report. Tell everyone the final score. You have what?
I've got the Cougs winning 45-13.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Hey, how'd the Puck the Huskies podcast go? What were they thinking?
That gets recorded this afternoon and comes out tomorrow morning.
Oh, okay. All right.
Hopefully Jordan and Elise don't rip my head off. I'm just going to kind of get out of the way. Let them yell.
I honestly, I sense that Husky fans are maybe a little concerned about this game more so than usual.
Well, I don't think they know what their football team is, right? I don't think you can tell after 2 weeks of who they are, right? They haven't played anyone. They struggled in the first half in both games, and then were pulling away in the second half. And I just don't know. I think there's, through 2 games, even though like Rodgers has had great numbers statistically, I think there's some doubt with him a little bit. And, he's only going to get better. There's no doubt with Coleman. And I just think there's, like I mentioned with Carroll earlier with the offensive line, you got to replace 5 guys. It's not only that, but they're moving them all around. Like every quarter, there's like a different left guard and a tackle and a right tackle and a left tackle. So, I mean, I just think that there is, they got 46 new guys, I think, or 47, something crazy. So it's just a lot. And
plus, you mentioned their front 7 on defense doesn't impress you at all.
No, it's not. It's not like what they've had in the past. I mean, we talked about it on the podcast yesterday, which again is out right now. Back in the day when they could rush 3 and drop 8, that's how you beat the air raid, and that's why Texas Tech got exposed, because that's what they tried to do, and that's why Mateer had 200 yards. Is that you could do that when you had Vita Vea and Gaines and all those guys. They don't have that right now. They just don't. I mean, Jordan will admit that they don't have that. I mean, the one guy they have on the line, the Durfee guy, I mean, he's an edge guy and he can get after you, but he also has some motor questions. But yeah, they're just not as good as they have been in the past up front. And that was always what has given them problems, is they've had a dominant defensive line. They can rush 3, drop everyone back, and then they can't run the ball. That's just not the case this year. If they do that, they'll get exposed. We'll gash them. But their secondary.
You think our defense is better than theirs?
No, I mean,
because I don't. I was impressed with how we played against Texas Tech, but
I also think
at the same time, I think the Huskies. I mean, there's a chance, even though I've got them scoring 13 points, I think there's a chance they could be in the high 20s, low 30s.
I think Texas Tech stinks, and remember they were out. Their best running back didn't even play. He was the best player. He didn't even play in the game. So I don't know. I don't even know. For our defense, I think our secondary is good, just like Washington's secondary is good. I think it's better than I thought, especially with some of the injuries that they've had. That O'Connor kid was everywhere. Gushakin, remember him? Huh? He's everywhere. Hall's everywhere. Durant played well last week. So, yeah, I think our secondary is good. Linebackers, I don't know. It's kind of up in the air. The front, I don't think we've had a sack yet. That concerns me.
Yeah, maybe so.
2 games. So
it seemed like we had good, consistent pressure, though. We had hurries. We were good with hurries.
Yeah. So it'll be good. I think there's a lot more vitriol, a lot more hate with this rivalry, which I think can be a good thing. I mean, I think my hate meter has gone up a lot more for them. It's not like the fans. It's just more of, because we got plenty of people that watch us. I mean, and listen to us that are fans. It's just the institution that I cannot stand. And just everything about it. So I think there's a lot more.
Well, they were one of the teams that kicked us to the curb, and you shouldn't be happy about that. And
they did what's for them, and they did what's best for them, and that's fine. But it's still, if you're an alum, if you're a Cougar fan, you have every right to have animosity towards them and not like them even more. And that's okay. It's fine. It's fine that they can say, hey, we did what was best for us. Fine. But then on the flip side of it is you can't be mad at our fan base that they're mad at you. I mean, that's just the way it works,
Yeah, and to Husky fans' credit, though, I don't think anybody likes what's going on.
I agree.
I mean, most Husky fans that I talk to, they're like, "Yeah, man, we didn't really want this. We get why we're doing it, but we didn't want it. We wanted the Pac-12 to survive." But I mentioned on the old Crimson podcast, I might as well mention it here. If karma comes into play at all, and I'm a big believer in intangibles and karma, Pat Shunn should be fucking miserable Saturday about 4:00. Okay. And I hope there's some drunk Cougar fans that see him leaving the Husky Stadium and just, like, hey, fuck you, Pat. Suck on that.
No physical violence, but no physical violence, but I would approve if you do see him, give him a double bird and tell him go Cougs.
Yeah. That's just the worst move ever that he made, and so he deserves to lose on Saturday.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
So you didn't. All right. So again, the Old Crimson podcast is up on all of our podcast platforms. You want more of that if you're a Cougar fan, or if you're a Husky fan, you just want to get like more hate, fuel inside you. Go listen to that. Also, Cougs Corner with Jake Dickert. He was great. He talked about the rivalry. He talked about fan apathy. He talked about what it's going to take to beat the Huskies coming up on Saturday. He talked about the physicality of his team and the weapon that is John Mateer's legs. Did mention that Parker's going to play. I know there was some thought that maybe Wayshawn Parker, the freshman running back, wouldn't play, and then his tackle Moe, I think is how you say it. I never can remember how you properly pronounce it. He'll be up in the air. They won't know until later in the week. So you fell asleep in the 8th inning. You didn't miss anything. The M's lose. Cal Raleigh hit his 30th home run. That was good. First catcher since Mike Piazza to have back-to-back 30 home run seasons, and he's 3 behind him for the most home runs for a catcher in the first 4 seasons in MLB. That's a hell of a person to be associated with. And all I can think about is I'd love to give him a contract for life. I really would. I don't want to ever see him play in a different uniform. And people said, our buddy Luke Arkins was saying, I don't know, he's not going to be a free agent until he's 31. Well, I mean, you can sign him now. You don't have to wait until he's 31. You can sign him right now.
Baseball's so messed up.
I don't think he's going to fall apart. Here's the deal. At 31, 32, and 33, and he's catching a lot. He doesn't have to play catcher. He can be DH, and he is a good enough athlete that you put a first baseman glove in his hand, and he's going to be fine. He's going to be more than fine. And you know what? I would venture to say if you transition to him at some point to be a first baseman, he'd be a Gold Glove first baseman. That's how good he is defensively.
Yeah, I'll bet he would be. No, it's amazing what he's done this year. Handling the pitchers, throwing out base runners.
He leads the league in that. He's going to do something that only 2 other catchers in the history of the sport have done, Jim. In back-to-back seasons, lead in home runs for a catcher and caught stealing. That's ridiculous. It's unreal what he's done.
No, think about everything he's doing defensively, and then he's got to know every pitcher. He's got to work with them, and then batting practice, he's got to be on both sides of the plate, working on both swings.
Did you
I
see?
mean, it's phenomenal.
Did you hear or see George Kirby's comments about him last night?
Oh, yeah, something about like the best thing about him out of all the great attributes is what a great teammate he is.
Just a great teammate. They all say the same thing. When you hear your pitchers talk about a player like that, a catcher like that, you just know what he means. There's like first one in the building, last one to leave, hardest worker on the team. He's just everything you want to build around in an organization. But problem is he's got a crazy owner. Well, he does have a crazy owner. He's got a crazy agent, Scott Boras. And then he has an ownership group that I believe truly in the heart of hearts is hesitant to give him money because he is so outspoken. I believe that to my core. I don't know anything if that's the case. I believe that deep inside my fat stomach. That the reason they would be hesitant to give him money is because he will say what is on his mind. And they don't like that.
No, that seems like it goes back to the Jeff Nelson days too, doesn't it? When I think Nelson said something one time about why they didn't do more at the trade deadline, and then he ends up getting dealt. No, but boy, it's got to be tough, and it was for Scott Service, probably for Dan Wilson now, because you want him in the lineup every single day, and for all the reasons we just pointed out, and everybody watches the games and they know too. But you're wearing him out too at the same time. And so, you talk about him playing first base or DH. It's such a huge drop off. Like, JP Crawford, when he's out and you got Dylan Moore out there and the other kid, I'm drawing a blank. Who's the other kid from Tacoma? Not Urias, but Rivas. Rivas.
Okay. Yeah.
It's not that much of a drop off from JP to those two guys, especially the season JP's had this year. Okay. But when you go from Raleigh to, and boy, Sebi Savala, he's back now. You see that news?
Can't wait.
Yeah. Or you drop to Garver, I mean, it's such a dramatic drop that you can't afford to do that with a lineup that's challenged as it is.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what his thinking would be, what he'd want to do if he wouldn't want to, re-sign. I don't know. He wants to win. But I think that he maybe would want to be here and stay here. But I also just think that group would be hesitant and, again, would to give him a lot of money. And they're running him into the ground.
No, but think about what you just said, though. Why would he want to stay here other than, his buddies on the team?
I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know. I would say this about the organization. They have given him no reason to stay here. None. They just haven't. Other than they've given him a great pitching staff if he values that, and I know he does. But just from a building an overall winner, they just haven't done it. They haven't given him enough.
What do you think in that clubhouse? Like the typical Mariner fan, like you and me, we go, why in the world would they bring Jerry Dipoto back? And what do you think they're thinking in the clubhouse? Like they've got to be thinking like it's never going to change here.
I don't know. Yes, I just think they're going to exactly right. I think there's some that maybe there's some of them that believe in him, but I don't know. He's not a very popular figure. I think a lot of people will tell you that. So they're slipping still away. They couldn't take advantage of the A's. God, the A's are playing great baseball. They couldn't take advantage of the A's who beat the Astros in extra innings yesterday. So they're 4.5 games back in the West. They're 4 games back of the Twins. They're tied with the Red Sox. Again, they're really 5 games back now, right? Is that the updated standings? Because they don't own the tiebreaker for any of those teams. So
the Red Sox have it, the Tigers.
They all do, and the Twins. Yeah, they all have the tiebreaker. So add a game onto that. And what do we have? 17 games left in the season?
God, what do you think Twins fans are thinking, though? I was looking at their schedule. They've lost 15 of their last 20. Now, they won last night. Yeah. But, boy, they're hanging on for dear life there in that wild card race.
Limping towards the end. The one I'm going to be all over this weekend is just switching gears to football because it's up there on the rundown. Seahawks minus 3.5. I mean, run to your bookie and get the Seahawks at minus 3.5 against the Patriots. Come on.
Yeah. Why is that?
What? It's the pay. Have you go look at the Patriots roster for a second, and just tell me it's awful. Hold on, I'll pull it up for you.
No,
I mean, no, I'm going to pull it up for you because I want you to. I'm going to read off these people's names. Tyquan Thornton, KJ Osborne are their wide receivers.
we got Jalen Polk there.
Polk is there. Jacoby Brissett's the quarterback. Now Stevenson's good, the running back, but I mean, come on. I mean, I know they went in and beat the Bengals, but you're talking about a Bengals team, right? Higgins didn't play. Burrow's first game since his injury. Chase didn't have a single snap, didn't do anything in training camp. I don't know. I think the Seahawks big. All right.
Seahawks big. Seahawks by double digits.
They've won 16 of their from their game notes that they put out. Thank you to Dave Pearson. Shout out to the Scowler. Anything else? I know you love him.
My all-time favorite.
They've won 16 of the last 21 games in that 10 a.m. Time slot. So take the Seahawks.
Okay. You're forgetting about the offensive line for Seattle.
I'm wishing.
It's a road game across the country.
Yeah. Hey, we've got Ryan Divish of the Seattle Times is coming up in about 5 minutes. Also coming up on the show later is going to be Danny Kelly from The Ringer. Did you see or hear about Deion Sanders at all?
Which time and what is it? What is it now?
Deion Sanders apparently has instructed the school band to not play the fight song right away after Shedeur Sanders scores a touchdown. Would you like to know why?
Because he wants Shadeur's song to be played. I think I heard something about that. He wants that song played as opposed to the fight song.
He adamantly disagrees with that and shot down that report. But the school came out and confirmed it.
And he shot it down anyway?
He shot down the reporting, said, that's false. We didn't do that. The school released a comment and said, no, we are pausing for it's standard procedure, which, okay. They pause for a few seconds. They allow his song to be played for a couple seconds, and then they play the fight song. So the report's not true. The report is true. He's made the school not play the fight song so they can play his son's stupid rap song after he scores. God almighty. Just a shit show there.
That's really going to end poorly, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's going to end this year. He's done. He's not going to be the coach there anymore. And yet, God, everyone watches them nonstop.
Do you think most Buffalo fans, by the time this thing has run its course, say to each other, hey, man, let's talk to who's the Colorado AD? Is it?
I don't know who it is. I think the guy left. I think the guy who hired him, I think, left.
Did he?
Yeah. George, I think he's gone.
Well, I would contact the AD and say, Ralphie, he comes out before the games, and we all like that tradition and everything. I think that they should let Ralphie just go after Coach Prime. Just let Ralphie be the running of the Bulls in Pamplona or whatever.
Okay, sure. You want him to do it? Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this before. Yeah, I don't think he's the coach after the season. I think when Sanders leaves and when Travis Hunter leaves, he's gone. And he's going to convince some other program to give him a job. I mean, watch Florida State. I mean, that's the obvious, right? That's the obvious one.
Yeah, God, anytime a reporter asks him a question that he doesn't like, if it's somewhat negative, oh my God, and the Denver reporter that can't talk to him anymore. And no, the press conferences though, and he's front and center. And so, but you kind of like him against Colorado State this week, don't you?
Oh no, I don't. And I guess there's some drama there too. I guess the wife of the head coach has gone on there and was talking a bunch of shit about Deion and his kid.
Really? What kind? What kind of shit?
Just saying how Shedeur Sanders last year disrespected Jay Norvell, disrespected him, didn't shake his hand, yada yada yada. And I don't know. It's just a bunch of stuff that's going on. It's kind of all over the internet right now, but
Yeah.
You know?
Well, God, he's not boring. I'll give him that.
No, he's not. And that's why people tune in. If you watch every week when they do their, TV viewing, they're through the roof every week.
I don't know.
Week.
I don't know how. If I'm a Buffaloes fan, I don't know how I feel about it because he definitely pumped life into a dead program. But
yeah,
the way he's going about it is different for sure.
All right. We didn't get to the PGA Tour tone deaf. I'm going to get to it at the Hey What the Puck. But did you see what they did real quickly before Ryan Divish jumps on here?
Well, I saw they have a tournament this week, and I've already bet on it.
No, these guys are idiots. These are absolute idiots. They are meeting with the PGA Tour. Started like a several-day meeting yesterday with the Saudi government, the PIF. The right, which is the Saudi government, okay, to hash out a deal. Where they met? They met in New York City yesterday, and it's running through this entire week, including today. On September 11th in New York City, they're meeting with the Saudi government. The government that is behind the terrorist attacks that took out the towers. Like how tone deaf can you be as an organization to think that's okay? And Tiger Woods is an idiot. And I love Tiger Woods. And Tiger Woods is there. I mean, you want to meet with them? Fine. Meet with them over there. Meet with them in Florida. You don't meet with them in New York City when we're honoring thousands of first responders who lost their lives and citizens because of what that government did. It's just the most asinine thing I have ever in my life seen. I just would like the communications people there. What were they thinking? Oh, this would be a good idea. Yeah. Well, September 10th, couple day meeting. Yeah, we'll be there on the 11th. Yeah, good idea. Let's do that. Let's bring them all in. It's just amazing.
Yeah, well, even you think about getting into bed with those guys.
Well,
like,
I mean,
do they really feel like that's necessary to do that? Did it seem like a watered down tour to you this year?
I never watched a single second of it, so I can't tell you.
No, I know. I didn't watch any of the live stuff either, but I'm talking about the PGA Tour. Did it seem watered down to you?
Yes,
like who did we miss? We missed Rahm, Cam Smith, Koepka.
My interest in it this year wasn't as high as it has been in the past, but a lot of stuff going on. But I don't know. Whatever. I couldn't believe they did that. Let's bring Ryan Divish onto the program. Hey, Divish, look who it is. It's your good buddy, the go-to guy.
Oh, yes.
Where are you at? Are you at the Y again?
I'm at the Y in Sumner.
In Sumner. There's nothing
that's a nice one there.
Nothing like
I went there for my granddaughter's swim lesson. Yeah, that place is nice.
Yeah, Jim, you'd fit in because he'd probably be one of the younger people in here.
Yeah, well, thanks, Ryan. It's good to see you too.
It's either little kids or really old people.
Hey, before Puck cuts me loose, what's your bet of the week in college football?
Oh, I didn't even look. I'd probably take the Cougs and the points.
Okay. You heard that, Puck?
I heard it. I mean, listen, I love the Cougs and the points. I'm just not as confident as you are. All right. So, and if you want to hear more, if you want to hear more confidence from Jim Moore, go check out the Cougs podcast, Old Crimson. It's up there right now. They're on all the platforms. All right, Jim, we got to cut you loose, bud.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, go enjoy the rest of your day.
I want to stay longer.
You can stay longer. I don't
wanted
care.
to make fun of him.
Yeah,
I got to go look at a log cabin house that I'm going to try and talk my wife into buying.
Okay.
God, yeah, it's out in the woods. Looking forward to it. So I'll talk to you on Friday. Divish, good to see you, man. Go Grizz.
Good to see you too. Yeah, go Grizz, go Cougs. Make me some money.
There we go.
All right.
There he is, Jim Moore joins us on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. here on the old program. How are you, sir? Ryan Divish joins us now. Ryan Divish, of course, brought to you by Chalet Bowl, Washington's oldest operating bowling alley, proudly serving the community since 1941, located in Tacoma's historic Proctor District. Chalet Bowl has been family-owned and operated for over 40 years, delivering top-notch customer service and a unique 12-lane experience. Check them out at chaletbowl.com to book your next reservation.
So I
Go ahead,
thought this
Divish.
was going to be the quiet spot. This was going to be the quiet spot and the why. And then all of a sudden, like, the Silver Slippers yoga class got out, and apparently they don't have their hearing aids on. So it's like everybody's yelling, and then it's really this is an interesting YMCA. It's really new. It's really nice, but it's also like family style. So there's kids everywhere. I don't know why they're not in school. Maybe they're homeschooled.
And you love kids,
and you love people.
Yeah, and you love kids more than anybody.
Yeah, so much so that, like, if we could have crates for them or kennels, much similar to like a puppy, then I'd be good with that.
Hey,
I'm such a bad person.
Hey, speaking of you got a new. Did you get a new puppy, or is that a new puppy for your family, for your parents?
It's for my parents.
Oh.
My parents lost their black lab in March suddenly. The dog was only 5 years old. She had cancer, but they were trying this treatment. Something happened and passed away suddenly. And so, that's a hard thing. And they took some time, and then they kind of decided that they thought they were ready. And then my sister and I decided that they were ready because my parents don't really like each other very much anymore. And so it's like they're cohabitating. So we need a dog to kind of like serve as the buffer to make them happy. And so, it's, no pressure on the dog or anything, but honestly, like, just, my dad's retired, and if without the dog, he's getting up every day and watching Gunsmoke reruns and Leave It to Beaver reruns. And then, like, I showed him how to use his DVR, and I look on his DVR, and it's like Looney Tunes and Flintstones and Gunsmoke, and then in the afternoons he watches Friends. I mean, like, that's quite the jump. Yeah, I know. Well, you know why he watches Friends, and it's not because Joey and Chandler are funny. So he's got, like, so it's a funny thing, like ADD people like me, and he's got it. I mean, you like reruns because you don't have to pay attention that much. You already know what's happening. And so it's like you can kind of not, it's there, but you don't have to buy in, but you like watching them. So, like, for me, every off season, I'll watch The Wire, the entire 6 seasons of The Wire, and I'll watch all 7 seasons of The West Wing. And then, this year I'm going to knock out The Sopranos again.
Good.
I think, so it's like that. There's a comfort level for ADD people, like, especially like if I'm working or, just perusing the internet, having that on is good. Like, the idea of like starting a new program and buying into it and like focusing on it is super daunting for me. So like, I'm much more, obviously I watched, me and my girlfriend binged Breaking Bad last year because she'd never seen it. And I only watched the first like 2 seasons. So, that kind of thing once you get into it. But like, for me, that's really hard to, like, the idea of like starting a series, or even like ones that I've watched. Like, I haven't watched the final season of Peaky Blinders because I hadn't watched it in so while. So I'm probably just going to watch all of it over again and then watch the final season.
Yeah. I gave up on that show years ago.
Same with like Yellowstone. I mean, like, it's so absurd, but it's supposedly coming back for a final season. So I'll probably have to go watch at least last season because I haven't seen it. So.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know when Yellowstone's coming back. Was that long-winded like filibuster there just so you don't have to talk about the Mariners?
I mean, yeah. No, but yeah, we did get a puppy anyway. So,
okay, so long-winded point, you got a puppy, and then that turned into 5. Tell that kid to be quiet. We don't need that screaming kid there at the Y. I mean, what are we at? 17 games now remaining, 18 games in the season. I mean, time's running out. They'd have to go what? 13-4?
I mean, yeah,
At least,
maybe 12-5 if a couple teams fall on their face. But they don't even own the tiebreaker with the Tigers or the Twins.
Yeah, or the Red Sox. They don't have a little tiebreaker with any of them.
No. So I don't know. And every time it looks like they have a chance, and it's not like these other teams are pulling away. It's like, here, we don't want it. You take it. We don't want it. Even the Astros. If they had just simply won some of the days where the Astros lost, it'd be down to a game or two. Like they cannot get the traction to win. To get close. And I guess like technically, if they can keep it at 4 when they go into Houston, if they win all 3, then it makes it interesting. But it's getting more difficult each time that they step on the field and don't win. And like last night was just, I kind of wrote it, but I think the entirety of the season where the lack of offense, I think it's catching up to the pitching. I think that you make a mistake, you're done. And I think Kirby got in that situation. He's trying to go for the punch out, knows he can't give up much more offense, makes a bad pitch, and Machado turned it into a laser. So I just think it's, I just don't see it happening. But then again, every time I count this team out and say, oh, they're done, they win 2 of 3, and then somebody else loses 2 of 3. So who knows? I mean, it's going to come down those last 3 or 4 days, and they're probably going to lose by a game or 2. They'll finish a game or 2 out of the postseason. But does that make you feel any better?
No.
Is that the moral? Like 2021, when nobody expected them to be good, and they finished a game and a half or 2 games out. Yeah, there was some solace in that. Like, okay, this team wasn't expected to be good, and here they go, and they found a way. In 23, they finished a game out, and it was a disappointment. This year, they're going to have lost a 10-game lead. They're going to have woefully underperformed offensively, and they're going to finish maybe a game or 2 out. Now, that's I mean, like, at some point, the Mariners could just say the math doesn't work, and we're going to wave the white flag and pull some of our starters. But, I mean, I think you got to run it till you can't. And that'll be the thing. I mean, we should probably know after that Houston series whether they have a chance or not.
Okay, so the news that came out yesterday, bad news there for Luis Castillo. So he's on the IR, 15-day IR. They are. It sounds like they're confident a couple of weeks, and then he's back for what? That last game against Houston, first game against the A's. Is that the best case scenario?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's their hope, anyways. I think when Wu had his hamstring, he missed like 15 days or 16 days. So it's possible. I'm sure they're going to slot it that way so they could. But yeah, it's not good. It's not ideal. Emerson Hancock has been a solid replacement, but he's not Luis Castillo, who I thought was much better recently. And I thought he was pitching really well in St. Louis, and then, he gets hurt. So, to me, the backbreaker was Saturday in St. Louis.
Yeah.
I mean, my God.
You just can't lose that game. You cannot lose something like that when a guy pitches that way. Just can't do it.
When he gave up that homer, did you see the look on Logan Gilbert's face?
Yeah.
It was just like, it was just like in Breaking Bad when he said, "Say my name." Just like pure just bitterness and anger. And I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. And I'm watching it. I'm in the Davenport Safari Room, whatever that bar, the Safari Bar.
Why are you there?
Concert.
Oh,
I was going to a concert, the Randy Rogers Band.
That's a great bar, by the way, all time.
Yeah. We had a couple flatbread pizzas.
Yeah.
Me and my buddy Brian, my girlfriend, we're gonna go there and then go to the concert. So we're watching the end of the Mariners game, and we watched him give up that bomb, and I was just like, no, man, that's so brutal. And like, you just knew they were gonna hit after that. I mean, this thing is like, it's part of it is the middle relief. I don't think that like they would have come back last night from what George did, but it's a lot different than when both gives up the single. That's a problem. Like the middle relievers have allowed a lot of deficits to go from 1 run to 4 runs or 1 run to 3 runs. And this offense is incapable of doing that. And I did think it was funny. I told Jude, I was like, hey man, you wrote that story with those quotes from JP about, the offense. And of course, the next day they go out and punch out 14 times and get held scoreless. And then the next day they look good again. So, and then like last night, I think they struck at 10 times. They had a bunch of hits, but, Julio stranded 7 runners by himself, and it's not a former team of Randy's, so you don't know what you're going to get from him. When he plays one of his former teams, he's great. But yeah, that Saturday was the backbreaker. I was kind of, okay, this is probably not going to happen. And then they wake up on Monday or Tuesday morning, and they're only 3 back of the Twins somehow.
They're going to stay. You just touched on. They're going to stay relevant to the final few games. They'll miss it by a game or two. We've talked about this before, and then you'll just, whenever they do a press conference, if they ever do one, they'll just talk about the excitement that they have heading into next season with this next a wave of talent coming. But they'll fail to mention that next wave of young talent is not coming next year. But they're going to be excited about it. Ownership. Why well, she's excited. That person was excited. They
started the pickleball. I think that was Egan, actually. They started the pickleball on the basketball court.
What's the strategy or the thinking behind yet to this point? Correct me if I'm wrong. They have not confirmed that Jerry Dipoto is coming back. They have yet to confirm your report along with Adam Jude. Correct?
Yeah. I guess they just think that I've kind of been told like they don't want the focus to be on that. They'd rather focus on these final 18 games or 17 games and just this up until the end of the season. I don't think they, I think in some ways the negative aspects or the negative reaction to it all, it really does no good for them to come out. Like from a PR standpoint, it does no good for them to come out and do much about it. But confirming it might be a big deal. I guess they could change their minds. So like, Jerry, that extension we promised you, that's not going to happen. But to me, like that would be even more dumb if you decide at the end of the season, no, we're not going to go forward with Jerry unless he did something egregious, like double birded the fans or whatever, like or they, or I don't know, but like just you have like a finite amount of time to get ready for the off season, and if you were to fire Jerry after the end of the season for some reason, say they changed their mind, then you have to go through the process of finding a GM, then you have or president of baseball operations, and you got to have that person go in and evaluate your staff, your players, everything, and then you're going to try and get going into the off season, and you can't talk to most of these people that are in the postseason anyways because they're in the postseason. So it's like either if they're going to do it, if they were going to make a change, they would have done it early. I mean, that's what they did with Bavasi. That's what they did with Sorensic. Now, I know it's a new ownership group in charge, but the folks that are now in charge now were in the minority ownership group when those other executive changes came. You do that midway through, so you have some time for the person you have to evaluate what you have and go from there. I mean, you can make it part of the process, but if you're truly doing it right, you want to vet these people and make that decision. So that's why and I don't know why, honestly, like if you really believe in it, just come out. You don't have to hold a presser. I mean, I think we would like one, but just release a statement that, regardless of what happens this year, we feel like Jerry Dipoto's put this organization in a better place. He's helped rebuild the farm system. He's built one of the most exciting young rotations in all of baseball. We have, all this stuff. And that's why, we believe that he's the right person to take us into the future. That's all I got to do.
But we've talked about this on, but
the thing is like, if you, go ahead, Puck.
Well, we've talked about this. All right. I mean, I jumped on you there. My bad. We've talked about this before though. It's because I don't think that I think they're in a way embarrassed by it or they're just not fully confident that he's the guy. And so if you don't want to announce it, then and you're not fully confident in it, then why'd you do it? I mean, that would be my question to them if they ever do something and talk, but why? Like what? It doesn't feel, or you're not giving off the perception that you're confident in bringing him back. So why'd you do it?
Yeah. I mean, like, that's the thing. If you really believe it, you can just say, well, we know more than the fans do, and we don't care what the fans think.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they're not going to say it that way, but like, if you believe that he's the guy, then that's fine. You know, I mean, like, it doesn't. They don't have to make the popular choice,
Right.
and if they feel like it's best. I mean, like, these guys are businessmen. If they look at it from the cold hard aspect of what makes us successful, is a change going to make us successful, at least at this moment? If the answer is no, then don't make the change. You don't have to give them a 5-year extension. We don't even know how long of extension. It could be like the Jack Z one where they gave him a 1-year deal. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
you got 1 more year of this. We'll be an even 10, and after a decade, we're going to move on if you can't produce. And maybe that's the case. But, you know, it's like, it's, you know, if they hold that presser and they say, oh, you know, we finished a game or two, so we're close, you know, we feel like this has got the good core of a team, or this is a team that's capable of moving forward, and we're excited about that. I mean, I don't know that that's true. You know, you look at the team, say they run it back and they lose what? Justin Turner and I think maybe one other guy, and the rest of the guys could come back. They run it back with this team. Do you think that they're going to contend for the division title?
No, I mean, that's the thing is like but they're going to, you tell like the off season where they're going to go. Right. And that's kind of the last thing. Like, what's the hope? M's hope. And we'll get to Dan Wilson's contract. I'm just curious if there's any information on that. Is where is the hope for them moving forward? Because it doesn't seem to be a lot of roster flexibility that they have, at least from a financial situation, because they don't have a lot of financial flexibility. I mean, unless they get rid of Luis Castillo. But, you know, they owe a lot of people a lot of money. We've talked about this in great detail, right? You've got Gilbert coming up. You've got George Kirby coming up. Cal, is Cal next year?
Cal's up, arbitration eligible.
Yeah, so Cal's up next year. I mean, there's all Randy Arozarena's going to make more money. Julio's contract goes up. I mean, there is a lot of money that this ownership group, who again is yet to really just go all the way into the deep end, that they're going to have at their fingertips. I haven't even mentioned the Mitches. I mean, you've said it before, they're going to eat one of them, but I mean, they owe money to those guys. So, you know, the likelihood they'll probably, as you've talked about before on the the over 1,000 podcasts that you've been on about trading
yours or other people's,
others, but you know, they're going to trade
sea level, the sea layer,
sea level. You went on Services Burner podcast. That's the latest one that has probably just come out. But you know, they're going to make one of those moves, I would assume.
I would think they'd have to.
Yeah.
What you don't want to see them do, and is to package a younger prospect with a bad contract to rid themselves of the money. Similar to what like Jared is Jared, but essentially they gave up on Jared so they could, get somebody to take the contracts of Evan White and Mark Gonzalez, and that's not a good way to do business, or in the terms of baseball, giving up young cheap talent along with veteran talent that you're owed a lot of money to, just as a way to reduce salary.
Yeah.
You know what? You made the mistake of signing him or whatever. You made the mistake of investing that capital. Eat it, invest more money into it, and then keep your young players. I mean, like that's a bad way to do business. You say what you want about the Rays trading Randy or trading Blake Snell at the time or Chris Archer. They recognized that they couldn't afford them. They recognized that this is when you're going to get something for them. And then they moved on. I mean, that's how they went. But they weren't giving up young, talented pieces as, to go to help dump the money that there was going to be owed. That's just a bad way to do business. But that may be the only way. If you're going to, let's say they decided if they can't trade Castillo and they trade Bryce or Brian, but the contingency package is you have to take Garver's contract or you have to take Arozarena too. I mean, at least with the Arozarena, there's productive there. Like if you went, say you wanted to go to the Red Sox and you wanted an outfielder, and maybe somebody else. Like you wanted 2 players, you could trade Bryce and then Arozarena to get more, 2 hitters, but for, you could do it that way. Okay. Adam Jude always says, oh, they're going to trade Bryce for Tristan Casas. Okay, but like if they want to, maybe that's what you do. Maybe it's just the 1-for-1. But if they're so concerned about money that they have to trade they decide they're going to trade Randy, because obviously nobody's going to take the Mitch's money, then that's just a weird way of doing things. You better get two good players, or at least one good player and one guy that's almost right there to be good to do that. I mean, we mentioned like Jordan Westberg and from the Orioles, or Colton Cowser and something. If you have to do it that way, if you have to double up, because that way they're getting a player too to offset that.
We never like to do two questions in one, right? That's the old thing, but I guess it's kind of a two-parter. One, to Rosarina, do you think they're convinced that they actually will go to arbitration and bring a Rosarina back? And then two, he gives off a vibe that he doesn't want to be here. Do you get a sense of that?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think he's he's uprooted from Tampa, where all his family is and everything else. He's been in Tampa. He lives in Tampa. The one thing about the Rays is where they train, you can stay at your home quite a bit. So I don't think his family's not here. My presumption is he's probably living in the Silver Cloud. And while we love the Silver Cloud and Jimmy's on first, it's not like living at home. You're away from your family and everything. So I don't know that he loves it. He certainly, I would think going into the visitors clubhouse and sitting with Cash for like an hour and then, FaceTiming his teammates every single day in Tampa is the greatest sign. But you can't non-tender him. And then, you gave away two really good prospects, Aiden Smith and Brody Hopkins. Plus, there's still a player to be named later in that deal. You can't just non-tender him because you don't want to pay the money or he's unhappy. At least tender him, go, settle on an arbitration number. And then if you realize, okay, this is just not going to work. He's unhappy. We're not going to get the best version of Randy Rosarina. Then you trade him. But you can't. I mean, the optics of that alone, give up 3 prospects and then don't tender him a contract because he's too expensive. Well, you knew that. And essentially what he's going to probably make next year will cancel out the option that, you budgeted for the club option, you budgeted for Jorge Polanco. So yeah, it's a weird spot to be in with them.
If they did end up moving Castillo, right? And listen, part of the number one reason they would do it is to rid themselves of the $72 million that he's owed. What type of, you're not getting much of a prospect back, are you, for him? Because you're asking that team to take on the money.
Depends. I mean, some teams can take on the money, like the Dodgers. I mean, they're going through starting pitchings at a rapid rate.
That's true.
They could take on the money. Red Sox
and then
can
still
take on the
give you a top flight prospect.
Yeah. I mean, the Red Sox have some prospects. They have some dudes. And that's a very logical spot to send it, and to the Red Sox, and if you look at it, yeah, he's owed $72 million, but it's pretty economical by starting pitching standards. And
Agreed.
So they can't. I don't believe his no trade clause is up until January 1st, but I'm not certain. He has a no trade clause,
right?
Limited no trade clause. Once, maybe it's just after the season they can do that. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's the first one they shop. He's older. He makes the most money, so you shop him first and then go from there. I mean, I don't know that they ever really knew that they were going to be able to sign him to the extension in the first place. And so, yeah, it's a weird spot that they're in. And you don't know what they're going to do financially, how much they're going to invest back into the team. I mean, the payroll will go up based on simple inflation. And so it's but I think Luis Urias might be arbitration eligible. Yeah, you're non-tendering him.
Right.
Some of those guys. But yeah, it's this offseason will be strange because you don't know which way they're going to go, because we don't know what the financial situation is and what they say. I mean, because it's easy to just come out and say, well, payroll is going to go up. Well, okay. How much? Well, we don't discuss that.
Yeah.
It's going to go up $1. It's going to go up $10 million. That's the thing that makes it.
They won't discuss it, but they are, because I remember Stanton the last time he was on. I remember when he was on with Ian on KJR and when he was on at Jimmy's on First. And I remember him saying that he wouldn't confirm the report by Forbes how much I think was the money that they made, revenue. He said, well, that's inaccurate. I remember Ian saying, well, what is it? Well, I'm not going to talk about it. So you can't sit there and say that number is inaccurate. And then when someone asks you a follow, well, what is it? We're not going to comment on that. That's you just can't do that. And that's what drives, I think, me and a lot of other people crazy
and that's
with
why
that.
That's why there'll never be a salary cap in MLB, because you have to open your books up.
Right.
To truly, and so no MLB owner is going to do that. You think
Correct.
that the Steinbrenner brothers want people to know how much money the Yankees really make?
No.
And that's the problem with like the RSN bubble and all this stuff. The Dodgers, Yankees, Giants, technically, Chicago Cubs, their RSNs are okay. Like, they're not hemorrhaging like the way other people are because the population base is so great. So it's like, and they, Red Sox and Yankees own theirs, so they understand how to do it. Like the Mariners, time, that's what's hurt them, and they don't have the population base here that you do in New York. So I'm curious to see what they do. And you're right, I don't use the numbers. I never have. If you look at I talked to Passon about it, and Buster and a couple other guys just about using those numbers. And they're just like, we don't really know. We've heard they're not completely accurate. Forbes doesn't really show their work. They're a lot like me in fourth grade long division. I just come up with a number because I had the calculator underneath my desk. I didn't show my work.
Okay.
So I'm not going to use those valuations. But I think we all would agree that they made money in 2023. I don't see how. They made money in the pandemic.
I know that. You're right. That was part of the
they didn't
story.
Get hurt. Like they said they did. They said it didn't hurt them as bad. They've traditionally been a profitable franchise even when they haven't been good, because they know how to sell tickets and market the team. They have good people doing that.
Yeah.
And they know how to maximize getting people there. They're going to finish with, I think, more attendance than they did a year ago.
I know, it's amazing.
So I don't know.
Hey, last thing for you before you run. Before you run, last thing for you. I got Danny Kelly from The Ringer standing by. Last thing for you. Dan, do we know anything about a Dan Wilson contract? Do we know what he got, what he received at all?
No.
Okay.
No. I mean, I imagine it's 2 or 3 years. I mean, I think he had to get a different contract because he's under a different contract structure. So, even a manager contract has got a different structure than what he did as a special advisor or whatever to the player development. So I don't think Dan needs the money, so I don't think they had to spend a whole bunch on him. But yeah, I'm sure it's a multiple year deal. I guess it's 3 years. It's kind of been the standard 2 or 3 years with how they do manager contracts. So.
All right, there he is from the Y in Sumner, the Ryan Divish Show. It's brought to you by Chalet Bowl, Washington's oldest operating bowling alley, proudly serving the community since 1941, located in Tacoma's historic Proctor District. Chalet Bowl has been family-owned and operated for over 40 years, the Frederick family. Reggie was in the YouTube chat, so shout out to Reggie for watching. Top-notch customer service, unique 12-lane experience. Check out chaletbowl.com to book your next reservation experience, the best in local fun. You can check out, in case you missed it, all of Ryan's appearance on YouTube will be up there later, as well as on Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast, and up at PuckSports.com. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks, Ryan.
Yep.
A man of a few words there. Yep, Ryan Divish, who joins us every week, and we appreciate his time. Let's switch gears. I haven't talked to this guy in a very, very long time. He's joining us for the first time here on the Daily Puck Drop Live. It's our good friend, Danny Kelly. You can follow Danny there on X at Danny B. Kelly. And I was thinking about this. We're going to talk NFL. We're going to talk Seahawks. We're going to talk fantasy football. You and I, 15 years ago, along with Scott Inyard, on the Field Goals podcast, we were ahead of our time. We should have just stopped doing what we were doing then and just went into that realm immediately, sir.
Yeah, do you think that our pod would be bigger than Bill Simmons' pod right now if we just so stuck with it?
I think we would be Bill Simmons. You wouldn't be working for Bill Simmons.
Yeah.
He'd be working for us.
Dang. If only. Yeah, but we were ahead of the curve on that one. Seahawks podcast. It was a 12th man podcast back in the day.
The 12th man podcast on field goals, and credit to field goals, still around, still doing strong and doing great.
Doing great work.
Doing Seahawks content. Danny Kelly's going to join us every week here on Wednesdays around 11:15. If I can get Divish off the line, we're going to talk NFL. We're going to talk Seahawks. We're going to talk fantasy football, all of it. As I mentioned before on X, you can follow Danny there at Danny B. Kelly. It's all brought to you by Georgetown Brewery, locally owned and operated. Manny and Roger, two diehard Huskies, my friends. They've been pouring the best local craft beer for the past 25 years. Makers of Manny's Pale Ale, Bodie's Offa, and a host of your other favorite beers. Tap room is open from 10 to 8 p.m. 7 days a week. Visit them at georgetownbeer.com. Well, week one thoughts. Let's just jump right into it. What stood out to you week one of the National Football League?
Oh, man. You have to choose one thing?
No, you can choose as much as you want. Go through the laundry list of things.
Well, the Chiefs seem to be inevitable once again. I think was like the first thing. We got some really fun matchups, obviously. The 49ers also look a little bit inevitable. So the first two big picture things is that like two of the best teams from last year are still two of the best teams this year, even with some of the off-field and off-season drama. Something that's definitely more in my wheelhouse coming off the draft is that the rookie quarterbacks all look pretty awful. So I guess that was to be expected, but it's a little bit disappointing at the same time to see like Caleb Williams threw like 93 yards, even though they won. It was obviously a tough first outing for him. But yeah, I would say, the good teams still look really good, and the rookies looked really awful.
Do you think about the rookies? And they all did. I mean, I guess Jaden Daniels at times looked okay. He looked okay on the ground, right?
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels put up a lot of yards on the ground, but that was a blowout. And do you think week one jitters?
Yeah.
That we would chalk it up to that, right? Not a misevaluation of the talented players.
I think there's this impression that everybody, or I guess like CJ Stroud set a really hard example to match last year because he came in and was pretty good, like right from the jump. But yeah, I mean, like if you look at the history of rookie quarterbacks in their first season, and even going back to like Russell Wilson's first year, I remember he lit up that preseason. We were so excited about what he could do once the regular season came around. Like he was running circles around defenses that preseason. Wow. And then he came in, and I believe his first game was against the Cardinals, and it was a struggle. It was a struggle. And I think that's just something that you have to expect with any of these young quarterbacks. Like the speed of the game is just so different. Teams are playing really vanilla stuff in the preseason. So once you get to the regular season, it's totally different. I do think, I think Caleb Williams is going to be fine. He flashed a few things that I thought were encouraging. Jaden Daniels, he was really poor as a passer, but again, like his ability to run around gives him a little bit of a dynamic thing on offense. So, I think those guys will be fine.
Yeah. Danny Kelly again with us from The Ringer as we talk all things NFL, Seahawks, and of course, so we'll get to some fantasy football. I'm going to need some fantasy football help as well. If people are in the YouTube chat, if you want a fantasy football question, get them loaded now, and I'll try to pick out the, I don't know, a handful of them, and you can ask Danny Kelly because this guy knows.
All right.
It's not you got fantasy football, overall NFL. He's got draft. He's got it all covered. Danny Kelly, follow him at Danny B. Kelly. I think the other thing that stood out to me, I think just of week one, you're right. Chiefs just look like the Chiefs. I have 49ers. I mean, for the fact that the 49ers looked like that, with Brandon Ayuk basically missing camp, with Christian McCaffrey not playing. And they just, here's Mason. Let's just plug him in, and he gets 150 yards.
Yeah,
it's just they look dominant
and
again.
Their defense was still really good. Not Joey Bosa, but Nick Bosa was just dominant off the edge. This is also Trent Williams didn't play all preseason either, and so. Right. It's like they had awful offseason vibes. Like usually when you lose the Super Bowl, the vibes are going to be kind of tough in the offseason, but they came out and just looked absolutely freaking dominant once again. So that's a little bit, disconcerting if you're a Seahawks fan, because they just look really, really strong again. And not a lot of mistakes on offense. And that game could have been an even bigger blowout because Ayuk dropped a touchdown. There was still a little bit of rust there, I think, but Purdy was efficient. The run game was dominant. This is against a good defense too in the Jets.
Yeah, and I'm just waiting, like when I'm watching that game, and all I'm doing, and I think with every game when I get to the 49ers, Danny, is I'm just waiting for, when is Brock Purdy just going to suck?
Yeah.
Like, when is it going to happen? When is he going to, like, when is the shoe going to drop? And then every time you watch him, he just makes, he makes good plays. I know he's a product of the system. I think every quarterback's a product of the system.
Yeah.
But, one thing about him, he just makes plays. He does. He's a good quarterback. He just, and I think for a lot of fans, maybe Seahawks more than any fan base, they just don't want to buy in that he's actually good. That he is. He's just good.
It took me a really long time to kind of admit that to myself. Probably like a year, honestly. It's just like, he has almost the best situation any quarterback has ever had. He has the best left tackle in the game. He has the best running back in the game. He has one of the best receivers in Brandon Ayuk, one of the best tight ends in George Kittle. He has a really good offensive line. He has one of the best play calling coaches we've ever seen in Kyle Shanahan. Like Kyle Shanahan, the way that he designs his offense, sequences his offense, the way that he marries the run. And by the way, his run game is really intricate and changes like a little bit every game to like make it really hard for the defense. So it's just like he was dropped into like one of the best situations imaginable. But like, look what happened with Trey Lance in that situation. Look what happened with, multiple guys down the line, Jimmy G. And you just kind of have to admit it at this point that Brock Purdy runs that offense really, really well. He never seems to get rattled either, which is, I think, a really important thing at the quarterback position. He has a short memory. If he makes a bad mistake, he doesn't really tend to it doesn't tend to hurt later in the game. I don't know what he would look like in another offense, but he looks really good in this offense. And I think that's honestly kind of all that matters right now.
And that's the thing. What would Patrick Mahomes look like in a different offense, right?
Yeah.
If Patrick Mahomes wasn't selected where he was selected, and again, maybe there's no doubt that he's such a talented football player and quarterback that he would have found his way into stardom. But he went to the best situation. He didn't have to play right away, and he goes to a head coach who is an offensive mastermind.
Yep.
And just has utilized him perfectly to his strengths. So, I think all these guys, that's the one worry that I at least had going into the season with Caleb Williams. He's just going to look at his offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
It's Shane Waldron. It's terrible.
Doesn't inspire a lot of confidence.
No, remember from the Super Bowl, Jackson Smith and Jigba was asked the question by I think the Chicago radio host, and he just sat there and laughed and
he was like, "Are we live? Is this on the record?"
So I think that, and then you've got an uncertain situation, right, with the head coach there. Is he going to be the guy? And then we're going through it year 2 with Bryce Young.
Yep.
It's just you got to go to the right situation, and clearly where Purdy was selected, it was the right situation.
Makes all the difference. The supporting cast, the continuity among coaching staff is so important for these young guys. That is kind of one of my worries with Caleb Williams is if they don't end up winning, they ended up winning this game, which was kind of a miracle. They had a bunch of defensive and special teams plays that got them the win. But if they end up underwhelming and not really doing as well as I think a lot of people expect them to do this year, then, they could be looking at a new coach, new offensive coordinator, new system. It's just that upheaval is always not very good for young quarterbacks. And so that is a worry. But at the same time, Williams is fortunate that he landed in a system as DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Roma Dunze, unfortunately hurt his knee, but, he'll be around for the foreseeable future there. And so that's good. And this team has a pretty good defense. So all things considered, he landed in a pretty good situation. But I agree with you. The Shane Waldron, I was watching that game on Sunday. I was just like, man, I don't know if he's it. You know what I mean? Obviously, Caleb Williams missed some throws, and he didn't play well at all. But I don't know. I'm a little worried about that.
Yeah. The other thing I take away from the Monday night game with the Niners and the Jets, he's off an Achilles injury. Mm-hmm. It just, he wasn't moving around all that well. He looked a little gun shy. I don't know. It doesn't seem like that whole Jets, Aaron Rodgers, Robert Saleh thing is really meshing, and that it's going to end bad. And halfway through the season, I wouldn't be surprised if Robert Saleh is fired.
Yeah.
This doesn't look like it's going to work.
I mean, yeah, this is a team, and honestly, like, when was the last time the Jets had what seemed to be like a cohesive coaching, ownership, and quarterback situation? Like, it just hasn't happened for them for a really long time. Even when they were really good and like going to AFC championships and stuff, I feel like they were a chaotic team with Rex Ryan coaching and whatever. And so, yeah, it feels like we kind of projected a little bit too much what the Jets could be when you drop Aaron Rodgers in there, and you kind of forget, like, he's old, like he's coming off a major injury. There's going to be, there's going to be growing pains in this offense. He hasn't played in a long time. He hasn't played with these guys. He hasn't played with these receivers. Like, it's not a surprise to me that Alan Lazard, of all people, was their leading receiver. Six catches for 89 yards and 2 touchdowns. Alan Lazard. You want to know why? Because he's played with Aaron Rodgers before, and Aaron Rodgers has an improvisational style to him. He doesn't like running the play that gets called. He goes to the line, he checks out of it, he does his thing. He doesn't really play in rhythm or on time very much. Like, he's obviously very good at doing that, and playing off rhythm and off schedule, I guess. But, like, it takes a little time for everyone to come together with this. And so obviously it doesn't help playing one of the best defenses in the NFL either.
Yeah, I needed Garrett Wilson to have a few more yards, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
needed Garrett Wilson to be a little bit more of a focus there on the offense there for the Jets. And then, yeah, I just think it was a great theater of football. I mean, the thing is with Week 1, Danny, it's the greatest reality show that we have in just ever is the NFL. It just really is. I mean, think about the pregame on Sunday.
Yeah.
I mean, in like with 5 minutes, you got and jump in if I miss something.
Just an all-timer Sunday. Yeah.
Dak Prescott's got a new deal. Okay, which was the storyline that ESPN had. It was drooled over the entire offseason. It kept Get Up and Mike Greenberg alive. Was the Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott
just making fun of the Cowboys all offseason?
Yeah, and
never
then
gets old.
So that gets done, and then what do we got? We got another Scotty Scheffler situation. This time it's an NFL player, and it's Tyreek Hill, who's getting pulled over for a traffic violation, ripped out of his car, and put in handcuffs. All of it's happening at once. It's just
Jeff Darlington again on the scene of the crime.
Darlington again. I mean, if I see Darlington, I'm getting out of my car.
Don't speed.
If
you're around Jeff Darlington.
And it's just all of that, and it was just remarkable. Just a remarkable theater. And then and then Thursday was a great game. It's the greatest theater in the world is the NFL.
Yeah, it never gets old. It's the NFL season for people that cover it is definitely kind of a grind, but like I was so excited for the football to start again. I'm I work in the industry, but I'm also just like a huge fan. I just love watching football. It's so much fun. I love all these I love storylines, I love fantasy. All this stuff is great. And then, you got Russell Wilson getting hurt and Justin Fields coming in to play for him right away. You had the Brazil game, which was just wacky and wild, and great Week 1. A lot of fun storylines.
Yeah, a lot of great storylines. All right, fantasy football, because that's going to be another element of this segment here with Danny Kelly. I'll get to the chat room here on YouTube to see if we got any questions in there for Danny Kelly, and I'll peruse that. I'm going to start here with this. What's the running back situation in Miami? I have A-Chain, probably like a lot of other people. We already know that Mostert's out.
Yep.
A-Chain missed, I think, the first 2 days of practice, and I think he came back today.
Yep.
So should everyone run and get Jeff Wilson?
I think, yes. Pick up Jeff Wilson for sure, just in case. I think Jalen Wright, if he is still out there, is worth grabbing just in case. It sounds like A-Chan is going to play. He was running around at the beat writers in Miami today. We're talking about how he looked pretty good moving around. The fact that he's at practice, even if it's a limited situation, I think would indicate it's not like a high ankle sprain where it's going to, really hurt him long term. Maybe he just had sort of like he kind of limped off the field at the very end of the game there, and there was uncertainty about what happened. So the fact that he's at practice, moving around, there's some video of him jogging about and making cuts and things like that. It sounds like he's going to be okay, but I would guess there's a solid chance he is a little bit limited in terms of like how much they give him the football, how big of a role he's going to have in the game. So I wouldn't expect a full workload for him. I'm still probably going to be plugging him in to my lineups just because he is Devon A-Chan. He's like literally the most efficient runner we've seen since like Jamal Charles. So I'm probably still going to be, plugging him into my lineups just because he's that guy, but I wouldn't expect quite as big of a workload. He may not be quite as involved in the passing game. So just, there's a little bit of a risk there, especially with him playing on Thursday. But right now it's looking like he's going to play.
Okay, what do we do with if someone needs a quarterback, I mean, do you really say, God, I guess I'll get Malik Willis?
I mean, I would probably avoid that situation, to be honest. Like he does have the upside as being a runner, which in fantasy, as we saw with like Jane Daniels, is a huge cheat code. But I mean, everything we've seen with Willis so far is like he just takes a ton of sacks. It's going to be hard to envision this Packers offense getting much going. I probably, when it comes to their pass catchers, like the fact that Willis is going to be playing is a big tiebreaker for me. If I'm looking at starting, Jaden Reed versus someone else, I might just go with the other guy just because, this offense it really could struggle this week with Malik Willis starting. So I would probably avoid that. I mean, there's other guys out on the wire right now, like Baker Mayfield. I probably would lean him a little bit more.
Okay.
Going up against the Lions, they had a couple injuries. Their first round rookie got injured, I believe, this last game. So they still could be susceptible to giving up some passing yards. So I would probably go with a little bit more established quarterback position, even though Malik Willis could run around a bunch. He just has been so bad every time we've seen him play that I'd probably avoid that.
Who is the who is the guy right now that could still be available? Usually it's a rookie or some under the radar. There's always every year, whatever. It's usually a running back, under the radar guy right now that you have seen is still available that people can jump on and grab.
Well, I'd say Bucky Irving for the Buccaneers. If he's still out there, he might have gotten scooped up on the first waiver run already, but he is a guy who I really liked coming into the draft. And he has looked really good in both preseason. He had like 9 runs for 60-something yards on Sunday. They're using him. He's getting playing time. And so he's definitely a guy I would keep in mind in terms of just like if you want to stash him on your bench and kind of see how that all plays out. Rashad White hasn't exactly impressed as a runner. He's a very good pass catcher, but I think there's a chance that Bucky Irving gets like a little bit bigger role going forward. The other guy that I would keep in mind is Trey Benson for the Cardinals. He doesn't. He's more of a handcuff right now because they really like Connor, but Connor has a history of injuries. He's he's getting up there in age. I think he's like 28, 29 at this point. And again, they're putting a lot of volume on James Conner's back, and if he gets injured, a guy like Trey Benson could all of a sudden become very, very valuable. So he's another guy to keep in mind.
Okay, a question from the YouTube chat room. Puka Nacua. Who do you replace Puka with?
I lean Demarcus Robinson. He's done it in the past. He did it last year. Every time he played last year, it was like every time he played over 70% of snaps, he was like making a real contribution. I would say he's a good route runner, a reliable guy. He has that established chemistry with Matt Stafford. But there are a couple other guys that could end up being a part of this offense. Tyler Johnson, who's another player I've liked kind of over the years. He's been a little bit of a journeyman, but really good college player, tons of production in college. And so he's another guy. And then Jordan Whittington, I should say, is a rookie that really impressed them in training camp and preseason. And so I think it's going to be a kind of a mix between Demarcus Robinson, Tyler Johnson, Whittington, and then Tutu Atwell is still on the team. I don't know how that's going to all shake out, but to me, I'm going with Demarcus Robinson, who's already done this before in the past, kind of established. And I feel pretty comfortable if you're really in a pinch, plugging him as a flex because this offense is just Matt Stafford is going to sling the ball around.
Last thing for you, what did you make of the week 1, the debut of Mike McDonald? I mean, there's the first half reaction, and then there's going to be the second half reaction, and then I guess you put it all into one big pot, and then have an opinion on what you saw in week 1 besides Marshawn giving him a massage on the sideline.
Love that. Love Marshawn just still hanging out, still in the still in the program. Just it's always great when like a fan favorite. Well, he's like honestly one of the top Seattle sports personalities of all time. Like he's up there, I think, with like Griffey and some of the like most beloved players in Seattle history
easily.
So I love that he's still just hanging around, and so that's great. But look, sometimes teams just have a DNA, and the Seahawks it's a circus. It's always going to be a circus with this team for whatever reason. First freaking play of the offense is a pick by Geno. They give up 2 freaking safeties, which who does that? I don't remember last time I've ever seen a team give 2 safeties in one quarter. Only the Seahawks could do that. But at the end of the day, despite all the circus antics that kind of just I think are ingrained in the Seahawks DNA, I'm very encouraged with what I saw. Generally speaking, the decision making I think by McDonald was really strong. He is definitely a very different style of coach on the sideline than Pete Carroll was.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of just stoic and serious, and I think like his decision making, in-game decision making, the way he calls the defense, I was very encouraged with all of that. And obviously like coming in and kind of dominating in the second half for the most part. Obviously they kind of let it get a little bit close there in the end, but the way they closed out the game, I was impressed with it. And overall, great first game. Still very, optimistic about what he can do.
Yeah. There he is, Danny Kelly. He's going to join us every single week to talk all things NFL, Seahawks, and, of course, fantasy football. My segment, talking all things NFL and fantasy football, is brought to you by Georgetown Brewery, locally owned and operated by 2 diehard Huskies. Their names are Manny and Roger. Big thanks to those guys, although they're not friendly this week because it's Apple Cup week. They've been pouring the best local craft beer for the past 23 years, makers of Manny's Pale Ale, Bodhisattva IPA, and a host of your other favorite beers. The tap room is open 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week. Visit them at georgetownbeer.com. Danny Kelly, again, will join us every Wednesday around 11:15. You can, if you missed it, you can catch it, the replay back up on YouTube. Listen to it, Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast, and, of course, up at PuckSports.com. Danny, you're the best. Appreciate you doing it. I'm glad that we're back together. Look forward to our visits throughout the NFL season.
Absolutely.
And we'll talk to you next week.
Feels great to be reunited, and I love your hat. I think I'm going to have to buy one of those.
Go get it. I think Simply Seattle has this.
Okay, I'm going to look that up right now.
Okay.
Also, by the way, Bodhisattva in my fridge right now. Love that beer. That's a Kelly family, staple.
Next week, I know it's early, crack it open.
Okay, I'll do that. Yeah,
let's just do it.
11 o'clock on a Tuesday or Wednesday? Why not?
11 o'clock on a Tuesday. Let's share a Bodie next week. All right?
All right.
So, yeah, there he is, Danny B. Kelly, again, every Wednesday at around 11:15 that he will join us. And, again, I told you the clock is just like radio. I'll burn through the clock, guaranteed that we would go a little long instead of trying to get done every day here at 11:30. All right, we will wrap up with Hey, What the Puck. It's brought to you by Restoration One of North Seattle. Your restoration company lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration services, locally owned and operated there by Trent. Make them your first call when damages affect your residential or commercial property. 206-817-8917. Visit them online at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. That QR code, if you're watching on YouTube or on X, that QR code will take you right to the website. We covered this earlier, but I want to bring it up again on Hey, What the Puck. I just can't understand the decision by the PGA Tour. I cannot understand how tone deaf that the PGA Tour can be to sit here and have their meetings this week. If you didn't see the story, the Jay Monahan, the PGA Tour commissioner, is meeting with the PIF, which again, the PIF, which is backed, Live Golf, is all backed by the Saudi government. And Tiger Woods is meeting with them, and they decided to hold their meetings this week in New York City. In fact, it started yesterday, and it's running throughout the week. And I just don't understand. You couldn't look at the schedule. You couldn't look at the date and say to yourself, maybe it's not a good idea to meet with heads of the Saudi government in New York City the week of 9/11. It's just remarkable how dumb some people can be. It really, really is. And to meet with that group who own U.S. intelligence has said played a major part in those attacks on that day, I can't fathom how idiotic you can be to do that. To do that to the families, to do that to the first responders, to do that to the people that put their lives on the line that day. It's just remarkable. There was a statement that was released by the 9/11 Justice President, Brett Ingelson. This is tomorrow. We will commemorate the 23rd anniversary of the 9/11 tragedy. Yet we are here today in New York City, down the street from Ground Zero, and the PGA Tour and Tiger Woods are negotiating with them, the Saudi government. It's just remarkable. There's been a lot of mistakes that people make, a lot of mistakes that Jay Monahan has made. And I think the thing, especially with Tiger Woods came from a military family. His father was in the military. And how him and his agents and people didn't think about what the optics would be to fly into New York City and meet with them this week. I just think it's one of the more asinine things and just disrespectful things I think we have seen in sports to do that. And just disappointed all parties and disappointed there in Tiger Woods and everybody there involved there with that situation. All right. That's it for Hey What the Puck, brought to you by Restoration One of North Seattle. And again, locally owned and operated. Make them your first call when damages affect your residential or commercial property. 206-817-8917. Visit them online at restoration1.com, North Seattle franchise. And again, that QR code right there will take you right to the website. Big thanks to all of our guests today. Jim Moore, who joined us. Obviously, Ryan Divish of the Seattle Times, Danny Kelly. Up there right now, okay, Coug fans and Husky fans. It's Apple Cup week. You can listen to it and watch it too. Just our podcast platform exclusive content. We've got the Cougs Corner podcast with head coach Jake Dicker. His second visit with us. He's making 5 visits throughout the football season with us. And then the Old Crimson podcast with Jim Moore, who is as confident as ever, yelling at everyone. Paul Sorensen, and a visit from Jamie Venica, CougFan.com, giving you some news and notes from practice. That's all up there right now on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you take in your podcasts. So go check it out. And what else? Oh, coming out tomorrow, the Puck the Huskies podcast with Elise Woodward and Jordan Reffett. That will be recorded later today. That will come out tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Get the puppies' perspective there on the Apple Cup. All right, that's it for Wednesday edition, September 11th. Thank you to all the first responders on this day as we think about what happened over 23 years ago there in New York City. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you tomorrow. As always, folks, we promise to be much better.
No shoes, no dice.
Would anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah. I was born to love you. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rub you. But you were born to rub me first.
What do you need my address for? We'd like to send out a mailer.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak